Welcome back. Welcome to Conversations with Shay. God has granted me a new day and a new opportunity to share our gifts with the world. I am Shay with an E. Super excited to have a conversation with Nyce today. Nyce is just let's just go by the name. Nyce is nice, and he's doing big things in the 610 area. Has a podcast that's reaching many people. He also will share with us some of the great things that he has going on and some of what he has going on and some of the things that he's branching off and some of the things that he is going to be doing in our future. So when I thought about today and being able to speak to this gem of a person with just so much, just so much to give, so much to give. I have tapped into Nyce, to your platform, and have been able to be encouraged and inspired. So the conversation was, really going to be based on your podcast, based on your music, based on all of the great things that you do. But then I said, you know what? Everybody knows what your jobs are. You have all these gifts and talents. I want to tap in and I want to get to know the man. Nyce. So welcome to Conversation with Shay. Again, I'm very happy to have you here. Welcome to our conversation. And when we first talked about meeting, I pondered, like, what questions would I ask? And today, it's a very profound question that I want to start you off with. It's very deep and it's very profound, and I hope you're ready. So here goes. As we open our conversation today, I'd like to ask you, what did you have for breakfast?
Breakfast. I don't think I had breakfast today, to be
I thought
honest.
you were going to say pancakes.
Yo, I really be letting people down with that. I don't
I thought
eat
you were for
pancakes.
sure going to say pancakes.
I start a lot of Facebook breakfast war, Instagram breakfast war stuff. It's going on 2 years now, but I don't eat pancakes that consistently. Like I don't always eat breakfast. I don't be hungry in the morning, so I can't even tell you what I ate this morning. I knew what I had for lunch, but it wasn't pancakes.
That is so funny. So I asked this question because I just knew you were going to say pancakes, and that was going to be too funny. But for real though, I just wanted to ask you, like, how are you doing? How are you doing today?
I'm well. This time of year is a busy time of year in my occupation with the amount of times I see students per day, so that's a lot. But I'm just always maintaining. I'm just happy to be able to wake up every day, do it again, and be able to help steer people in the right direction, and just take it one day at a time, one moment at a time. I do got a question for you though.
Here you go. Wait a minute.
That's what I do. I ask a lot of questions. So I notice how you put your name with the apostrophe E. Does the E stand for something then?
The E is actually my middle name is Ebony. So it's the
Ah,
first three letters of
okay.
my name, which was my radio. Um, no one's ever asked me that, but that was my radio name when I had a show at East Stroudsburg University as a student. It was two copper coins, and I was DJ Shay with an E. So it kind of just stuck. Usually
That's
people
dope.
spell Shay Shay or,
Yep.
another way. So that's why I do the apostrophe. And I usually do say Shay with an E.
Got you.
So it's
I
like
had to
shade to the
ask,
E. Well, thank you.
and I had to get it out. I had to clear it out because I knew there was a reason for it. I just didn't know enough,
Yeah.
and I think it's great that other people might not know that, so it's educational.
Well, see that? And you are in the education field. Tell me a little bit about that. What are you doing with the students?
Um, it's I can't even put it into a box. Like, to be honest, I'm such a nerd and I've been such a nerd for such a long time. I recognize that I love information, and then I'm always very sure about a lot of things. So because I'm always reading, consuming, and creating, I like to give information. So I did that when I worked in sales. I worked in advertising for years, and then even when I was first starting in education, I think I was like 27 years old, teaching at a college, teaching marketing, entrepreneurship, public speaking, stuff like that. Um, I did like giving the information, but I also liked that I had professional experience. And then fast forward to now, my role is academic coach slash success navigator. I work with students that are first gen, low income, or have a documented disability within a grant program. So I help them from getting on campus, getting aligned with resources, help teaching them a first year seminar class. My biggest thing is really in aligning with their why and their purpose in my one on ones and in group settings, and then getting them comfortable with like networking and meeting people and getting them out their comfort zone, and then trying to get them aligned with people on the outside so that way they can make connections that a lot of us coming from first gen low income households don't have a lot of connections in professional spaces. So that's why I always say like it's hard to put what I do in the student realm into a box, because although it's a title, like there's no way it accurately like reflects what I offer, and I can't imagine that there's a lot of people that come into a role like I've been in the past couple years that has that type of experience to be able to like lean on people I've met through the advertising world or community or through the media and events and networking that I've done on my own. So I come with a lot of human capital. But it becomes fruitful for them. I like that it gives them opportunities that maybe they wouldn't have had access to. It's like a lot of stuff that I wish I would have had that I ain't have.
Right,
So
right.
it's cool in that regard.
Right, right. So we have a common thread there. So I actually retired from East Stroudsburg University. Before I moved south, I worked at East Stroudsburg in student affairs. So
Gotcha.
really speaks a lot to the things that I'm passionate about. And I was a non-traditional student. Although my father holds his degree, God bless him, he's passed on. But I didn't see a lot of people who were coming through college. Graduating college, and in my family there wasn't a big that wasn't a big group, right? So
Hmm.
being able to be in a school setting and just have that aspect of education and kind of seeing how that machine operated, it was a joy. And so then at the good age of 36, I called myself going back for my degree. So that in itself, just being a non-traditional student, and saying that to what we do, people follow in our footsteps. So I was a young single mother, a young teen mom, and three children, growing up with those three children. But I am very, very humbled and honored when I say that I have three high school graduates and three college students. So I mean, that just is to say that what the work that you're doing now in educating those students that you get to work with, that doesn't only make it happen for them, that doesn't only change who they'll become, but it will also change the trajectory of the folks that they are going to be bringing into this world as well. So a lot of times I say what we do today really isn't so much about today, so more as it's about what's going to happen in the future. And so the job and the role that you're playing in these students' lives is really, not that it doesn't count for anything now, because it's huge, but the reward of it will be, even just as brilliant. So kudos to you. Kudos to you.
Ripple effect. I say it's dropping a giant stone in a lake. It's
Yeah,
gonna it's
yeah.
gonna splash and ripple. So
That's right. That's right. So good for you. I enjoy hearing about that. And I know, tell me about your podcast. I know we were, I'm
uh,
going to get to know the man, but I got to get to know
yeah.
what does the man come with? And I want to understand like how you got started. I want someone who's listening to know how possible it is to get started, to have that one day or day one kind of thing. And how did you get started,
Yeah.
and what did that process look like for you, Nyce?
I've been a media person as far as like an interest in creating, development, and producing for over 10 years. So I did have a magazine before, curated a lot of events. I've been doing events since I was a teenager, to be honest. But obviously, I have an eye for production value, which is really what I'm into. Not always interested in being in the forefront of things or being like that, but sometimes when you create things, you have to be in the front for the time being. So that's always been there. As far as podcasting, it's been something I've been interested in, and I can dig up notes in my phone because I write down everything. going as far back as probably about 2014, 2015. I did have a radio show that was internet radio with one of my peoples that worked with me at the magazine because I was looking to integrate that into the branding in the whole
Mm-hmm.
the whole ecosystem. So we had a show called The Morning Roast with my homegirl Sophie, which was popular. It's funny. Sometimes I'll have people contact me and say, "Hey, you should bring that back." And it was only Monday mornings, once a week for like 2 hours. We had music, we had topics, and then we was always either roasting one another or roasting other things that were happening in the world. So there was always that interest and that itch of doing those types of things. But then with like teaching and creating my own curriculum and doing different things in that space, I had a few different people I had been looking to partner with, and timing was a big issue for a lot of us. And I have some stuff that are recorded and stored from another podcast that they're just sitting on my hard drive right now that would probably still be relevant. So one day I'll unearth those.
Mm-hmm.
But then with the way this iteration came about is really fascinating because the name that we have is actually a name that I have saved in my notes from.
Wow.
I posed a question on Facebook about, hey, I'm going to start a podcast. What should I call it?
Right.
And then this happened to be one of the names on the list, and I didn't realize it until we started. Then I went back. But my pod partner, Bardalis, he is actually a former student of mine that I met with at the one community college I worked at, and I helped him get his video production business up and running and started because that was my role. I worked with all the entrepreneur students that had an interest in entrepreneurship, so I would
Mm-hmm.
help them get started. I ran pitch competitions, stuff like that, and so he did his thing. He's made a lot of noise. He's done a lot of great business. He got his associate's degree, then got his bachelor's. He works and he also does his media production business.
Mm-hmm.
He's also a recording artist, and then we started doing this because we have casual business conversations, and then we
Right.
started to just talk. And the one day he asked me, he's like, "Hey, we should start a podcast because these conversations we're having, people could benefit from them." And he caught me at a good time, being kind of stuff I've been like studying and researching and just consuming. I was like, "Oh, you caught me at a good time. There's no telling what I'd dive into right about now because I felt the creativity going." And so we talked about a lot of things, and then we just dove right in. And we,
Mm-hmm.
we wanted we wanted to be very intentional about what our brand was, the look, the feel, the sound, the texture, who we're targeting, every little detail, and then what the
Right.
actual long term vision is. So, one thing I wanted to make sure we didn't lose sight of is just being authentic from how we act to sponsors we take on. Like I don't just want anyone's money. It has to be
Right.
something I actually stand behind and feel in alignment with. So, that was very important for us. And now here we are, Power
Being
610.
successful.
Yep, yep.
Being successful, right? It started with a thought and it also started with sounds like that networking piece, right? Remembering who could fit into your pegs as you grow. So that's always important. You said one thing that I can resonate with. I think it's pretty cool how you wrote something down and then down the path it became the name, the very name that you have. It's funny because a couple of weeks ago we had guests at the house and you know, I had to pull out the bag and I used to rap. So I'm like, oh, let me rap. It's not really rapping as much as it's spoken word at this point. They were like,
Yeah,
let's call it spoken word at this point. So
yeah.
and doing that and every verse, and this was probably I wrote this maybe 2 years ago, over 2 years ago. And in every verse it ended with faith over fear and
Oh
faith over
wow.
fear and faith over fear and faith over fear. And here I am, 3 years later with this stepping out on faith, right? Putting my faith over my fear and stepping out to do this project and just getting to meet great people and hear great stories and testimonies and encouraging words and letting people know that it is possible because if one person can do it, someone else can do it too. So
That's
that's pretty
facts.
good. I did have a question for you. So, what has been going on in life lately? Maybe perhaps something that you didn't expect.
I think I think the shorter question is what isn't. I to be honest, like I really I approach life on a daily basis without having expectations. I just try to like move through things and kind of make the most out of every moment, and try to embrace like the now and actively staying present. Yes, it's very human for us to be like, this is what I want in my future, right? But however, like we don't always know what's in our future, and sometimes we miss out on things when we're too focused on like one particular thing or outcome, you know. So I feel like we close things out that way. But I feel like I think some of it is just, I guess, just reshifting what direction I want to go in creatively. Um, I went on an enterprise a mission, so to speak, the past year and a half of rereading my old journals. I've been journaling
Mm,
since I was 17. Now, one thing I was big on when it was turning 2020 was reading all that old information. I really wanted to connect with me from 2010 to see where I measure up a decade later. Was I in
mm-hmm.
alignment with where I wanted to be? And then if I'm not, how do I kind of plan ahead and think ahead of in what ways do I want to close the gap for the next 10 years? And I did that. And so that changed a lot of things. And I lost sight of that like pretty quick, because of all the changes. And my son had some health issues. So I
I'm sorry to hear
revisited that
that.
again. And it made me realize a lot of things. And even, I mean, I'm talking to the point where it wasn't just my journal, but I mean, I was going through old files on my computer, old emails, and just rediscovering a lot of these different things. And I was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
wow, like I'm into photography now. I didn't realize that in 2006 I had invested all this money on this one camera, and I was taking pictures of all these different things. And I found those files in a
Wow.
friend's business I took pictures of and gave it to him to use for his website at the time. And I was like, oh, so I really always had an eye. I just wasn't fully in tune with it because of the other things that I was into. And the same with you know, wanting to produce and design certain things. I wasn't connecting that at the time. That I've always been a creative. I just wasn't naming it. I was,
Mm-hmm.
more or less just kind of brushing it to the side. But I've always had this knack for seeing things, and so it was cool to get to where I'm at now and like embracing it and claiming it. Whereas before, I was kind of pushing it to the side, or wouldn't feel comfortable even making a statement like that. But now it's like, now you can't tell me nothing. I know me more than anybody else. So you can't tell me about me. I know me too well.
Right. But there's always room for someone to tell you something about you that you haven't tapped into yet.
Oh, and I'm open for all of it, because the one thing I always say to people, even when people share with me maybe something that's happened with somebody they're cool with, I say, they may have that perspective, and sometimes it's hard for us to see it, but you got to understand, in the same token, if I had something on my nose right here, there's no way I
Mm-hmm.
could see it unless someone's in front of me telling me, or I'm in front of a mirror. Either way, I'm getting a different perspective on myself. And so
Right.
you have to be open minded at all times to be able to listen to it objectively and take that person's thought and perspective into consideration, and then recognize that, I really do got something on my face. I gotta
Right.
make an adjustment. So
Yeah. One thing about learning about yourself is recently I'm on that part of my journey. Right. So just recently I'm on the part of my journey where I'm asking and I'm being tasked and charged to find out what it looks like to be on the other side of me. So, and that question is, it's a good question to ask the folks that are around you, folks that maybe not, maybe have just met me in my now journey, right? The now part of my journey, but some people who've been around for a while, and it was pretty interesting. The answers, for the most part, they were parallel. You always got that one person who gets a little emotional with it, and that's fine too. But it was a good place to be because I am a very controlling person and I like to know how things are. I'm that type of person. I got to know how it's operating. I have to know how it's working, right, and to get my buy-in. But that was it was a good moment for me in my life to be able to step back, and so that's actually going to help me grow because I wanted people to be honest and not use that control part of me to not be honest with me and to know that I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
going to come back and be judgmental or combative with how they feel being on the other side because that's their valid feeling. That's how they feel to be
Yep.
on the other side of me. When I think that I'm just trying to be helpful, right, it may come across as being a little controlling. So some things that that are right in my realm of being able to continue becoming the best, better shade that I'll be. So that's really, through that 2020 when everybody was in the house, right? People were starting to tap in and learn things about themselves and coming out on the other side better, stronger, more creative. That took some courage. So that's that
Mm-hmm.
faith over fear again. How have you
Facts.
managed to put faith? Have you had any times where you had to allow your faith to overstep your fear? How do you allow your faith to sustain your vision, and keep moving in the right direction? What does that look like for you?
Um, Honestly, it's just sometimes you gotta leave things up to the higher power. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's really easy for us to get caught up in ourselves and the humans around us, things like that. But we also have to understand there's forces above and beyond us that we have to rely upon. And I think it's easy to really lock in on like the human element, but the human element is literally like we manufacture fear. Like where fear is taught. It's not natural to have fear. Fear is learned through experience. So if you
Mm-hmm.
notice, and you have kids, I got kids. When they're small, they're addicted to danger
Mm-hmm.
until we're like, no, don't do that, or they get hurt. They
Right.
fall. They touch something hot. I'm not doing that anymore, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the one thing we don't understand is that fear is programmed, right? So we learn enough, but at some point, we have to shift that focus and remember that we have all this knowledge, this expertise, and we have to, have trust in other people, trust in ourselves to be able to go through things. And just it's easy to I guess one term I want to use that seems to be circling the internet pretty aggressively, but one thing is imposter syndrome, where somebody could have skills, talents, knowledge, expertise, and somehow some way still feel like they don't belong or they can't do something or don't have the ability, and then it's that fear that someone's gonna figure out that they don't have it. I've struggled with that too. When I first started grad school, I was like, wait, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
so
common.
yeah, so it's one of those things. I wanted to circle back on something real quick because I feel like it might be helpful for you or anyone else. When you talked about looking at yourself, I did this one exercise. I don't even know where I think of this stuff, to be honest. It just happens. But I texted 50 people the same exact message. I said, if somebody were to ask you about me, what are the top three things you would use, top three words you would use to describe me? So I collected all those words, put them in a document, and I made a word cloud. So for me, it was able to see, and I used different contexts specifically. So friends I've known for a long time, coworkers, students, people on the internet that I felt like had a good grip on who I was, or maybe just a small grip. I took all that information and I saw the words that came with the most consistent, and then I tapped in with how I felt about it. So it allowed me to be like, oh wait, I feel like that word isn't for me. However, if that's what people are perceiving,
Right.
and I want to be defined by a different set of words, I
Right.
got to take actions to close the gap. So it was a very interesting exercise, and I told everyone what I was doing. Like at the end of it, I told everyone
Right.
and showed them the picture and was like, "If you want to do this, you're like, yo, did you read this in a book or something like that?" And I was like, "No, I made it up." So
And guess what? I work at a $1 billion company, right? And so we just did that exercise through, whoever thought of it, whoever thought of to put it out there that way. So that's needed. So you come up with those things, but definitely, definitely different workshops and things like that. And I'm sure you use that at your school. I want to ask you a question. So pick one real quick: overnight success or fulfilled journey along the way.
Overnight success or fulfilled journey? I would say fulfilled journey along the way.
Why?
Nothing overnight. You don't appreciate it. Like instant gratification is just not. I don't know. It's one of those things. I feel like, especially in today's society, too many things feel like disposable. I'm not afraid to like work. I'm not afraid. And me, like I'm such a my new thing has been not trusting the process but loving the process. There's
Mm,
beauty in the struggle, and there's a lot that can come from like being humble and also not being humble. I feel like there's space for all of it. So I feel like the journey and kind of embracing the journey allows you all those different spectrums that allow you to become a better follower and a better leader.
right. That's awesome. That's some powerful stuff there. The next question I have for you is, who has made the most influence in your life? Who taught you the most about your where you're heading and the career path that you're on and the gifts that you're using? Who would you say was the most influential person in your life?
I would say for me, just from an early onset, it would have to be my mom and my one brother, and then later on my one of my cousins. But like those three, just different things that they may not even be fully aware that they instilled in me. My mom, she knew, 'cause I made her very aware of it before she passed. My one brother,
I'm
just
sorry
like
to
from a
hear that.
very early onset, just always telling me like, you're the prince, and I'm the youngest, so he's like, you're the prince, you're the golden child, just all these different affirmations. And then as a kid, I didn't know at the time, but I was always playing Barry Gordy's Last Dragon soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
And the music on that is very uplifting and empowering. You got the glow.
Right.
You're the last dragon. So you figure between what my mom is pouring into me with affirming me, I'm like 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. My brother, and then I'd be in my room playing with this record nonstop, just vibing. Subconsciously, that belief system was created,
Absolutely.
and so that allowed me, even when things were tough, because things weren't always easy. I had that coding embedded into me to allow me to kind of be influenced by that. So I always believed I could do whatever.
Right. And you spoke of your mom passing. So first of all, I'm sorry to hear that. I too am living the rest of this life out without my mother. So
Yeah,
I know the feeling of trying to decipher life with this new normal of this person who brought you here, you know. And it
sorry
takes
to
a
hear
lot
that.
of courage to overcome. Thank you. It takes a lot of courage to try to move on, still becoming the best version of your excellence, still overcoming. And have you had a time to process? Um, and how does that look like? So I guess I'm asking you, what are your habits that you do to take care of your mental health? While someone who's listening may be able to mirror along in their journey if they're dealing with something like that.
Honestly, but and it's probably one of my things just in life that's been embedded in me is I don't run away from stuff. For me, it was like it was overwhelming at the time, but I also, you know, my mom lived a really long, full, amazing life, and I had the privilege to be a part of it. As a caretaker for several years as well, while I was doing what I needed to do for my own kids and having jobs and other different things. So, my perspective is always like really different. Like that's a privilege. She had a privilege to live as long as she did. I had a privilege of having that opportunity to care for her the same way she cared for me when I was vulnerable as a kid and didn't know nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it looked to me it was full circle. You
Yes.
know, but again, I'm human, so the human,
Of
as a
course.
human, we're selfish. We don't want to lose. Nobody likes to
Of
lose
course.
anything. So I mentally prepared for it, but when it happened, and I was still like, bruh, like this still hurts. And but I also lost a friend the same week who I grew up with. So, those two things, it just was like, wow, like I really have a lot to process. This like new life of going through these things. So for me, it was more or less just dive in, call out how I'm feeling,
Right.
write about it, seek help, journaling. I got a lot of healing opportunities through creativity. I do photography, and I got the word my mother passed while I was in Hawaii, and just I saw the world differently from that moment on, and being able to look back at my Hawaii pictures like a month later and actually sit and edit them and go through them was very very healing for me, and just being able to call things out and be present with it. So
Right.
I still mourned, I still grieved for quite a long time, but then I had a moment. The one day I heard a song that I would randomly sing to her, just go in the room and try to get her to dance with me. Um, Now it's a shame that I can't remember the song off the top of my head. It's by the Spinners. Whenever you call me,
I'll be,
I'll be
yeah.
around. I'll be
I'll be
around. There we
around.
go.
Right,
See,
right.
I just had to do that.
Right, right.
It came on and I got mad emotional. And in that moment, after I thought about it, I had mad peace. So I was like, yo, this song randomly came on for a reason. This is my mom reaching out to me saying, yo, I'm still with you.
Right.
And after that, super peaceful. So when those moments happen, I just smile.
Yeah.
I just smile. I'm like, oh, okay. It's a reminder, So I see her in a lot of things, and all the people I've lost, I see them in certain things in certain moments. So I smile and I embrace it, and those are epic moments. That's how I look at it now.
The beauty in that is peace, right? It's that
Uh,
peace that you have within yourself and within the ability to be a caregiver
yeah.
for your ultimate caregiver, right? So pick one: showered with money or showered with love.
I'm like, yo, why can't I have both? Like,
Hey,
I guess I'll take the love just because that to me that represents impact. It's a given
nice.
receipt. Money's it's a tangible thing. You get a lot of fake love with that too.
Oh, that's deep. That's
And
pretty
I'm
deep.
and
What
I'm
kind of
good
love
on
will you
I'm
get if you're showered with money, right? If you're showered
yeah,
with love, you could probably take that love and build something that will grow into anything you need it to be, really. And if finances is a part of that, anything you need it to be.
facts.
Um, Let me see what else I have for you. Okay, so on Faith Over Fear, I like to allow my guests an opportunity to reintroduce yourself. So when I say nice, reintroduce yourself, I don't want to necessarily know who you are today, but I want to know who you're becoming. I want you to speak to me as if you already become the next level of yourself. So at this point, I allow you to reintroduce yourself.
um, that's a very interesting perspective. I'll say allow me to reintroduce myself. They call me Jones, but most people call me Nice. I'm a creative artist, entrepreneur, and what I enjoy is storytelling, telling the unique stories in a lot of creative ways for the people that may not always have access. Um, the focus is enlightening, and empowering others through a lot of creative ways, and that's really it for me. I feel like storytelling has a unique way of educating people, and I don't think we get as black folks and black creatives. I don't feel like we don't always get that. Technology and the internet allows us to change that narrative, to change our narrative, and that's part of my mission and having this nice vision.
Nice. So where's it going now? So what can I expect to how can I expect to see that manifest?
The manifestation is following me on any platform, at Nyce Jones, NYCE JONEZ. Um, Continuing to follow Empower 610 on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and just watching the story. And the thing with me is being so big on storytelling, I'm also documenting my own journey. Because one thing about me, and I know I've been through so many things, um, I'm not going through these struggles for free. There's no
Mm.
way. I'm taking these things, I'm packaging them, I'm putting them out in a variety of ways to empower and uplift other people. But the biggest thing with me is systematic. So, if I tell my story or tell someone else's story and I make some money, I'm putting money back into a pot to invest in other people so other people can make money and I can share the process.
That's what I'm asking you to reintroduce yourself. So therefore, you are going to be storytelling that's going to generate creativity in someone else's life. That's what you will
Yes.
be doing
Exponentially.
exponentially. Tell me something. What do you think you would say people get wrong about you?
Ha! You know what? I'm glad you asked that. The number one thing I would say people get wrong about me, um, is that I don't have emotions. And I think it's the wildest thing. You don't care about anything or you don't have emotions. And I'm like, no, actually, I care about a lot of things and I have a lot of emotions. Um, Emotions fuel currency and life and energy and time. So that's not something I distribute to anyone and everyone. So not everyone's meant to see or feel those things, but I also have a high degree of emotional intelligence where, I can hear or deal with a lot of things. I'll take it in, I'll process it and not just react. I allowed myself to kind of see perspective and not act out. So it's different. And not everyone is like that. So I always say it's not an absence of feeling, is that, I'm very big on processing and not reacting. I don't react out. Maybe when I was a teenager, but this new me that's been studying and being enlightened and meditating, I'm quick on press and pause.
Mm. Explain that. Press and pause. Break that down a little bit.
Press and pause is, experiencing something, and although it's natural to want to react, it may be an aggressive, loud, or even physical fashion to be able to stop, breathe, think, assess, and then communicate. Like there's so many other ways to deal with things versus being irate,
Mm.
and I'm very zen, so I'm always on some like, all right, now
Wow.
that I had a moment to slow down my physiological system, to allow
Mm-hmm.
my heart rate to slow down, my mind now has clarity to react in a different
Mm.
manner versus let me just flip on people and maybe say something that I can't take back. So I think that's the biggest thing for me.
So, thinking in life, let's consider the best year of your life and the worst year of your life. When have you grown the most in your life in either of those areas? Can tell me? Let's dig into that.
That's I write
That's a
I
good
write about
question.
it. I write
Hmm.
about it all the time. I can literally tell you exactly all of it.
Okay.
2003, easy,
Okay.
easy. Golden. I've written about it. 2003, super epic. I won't go into details of some of the things I was into at the time, but I was here, in PA, had a
Hmm.
job, played basketball at the community college I was at, and then I was finishing semester at a community college. I never named any schools I affiliate with because they don't pay me. I
Right.
think
I understood that. I
I
understood
leave
that.
them
But
out.
right on. Hmm.
But so I was finishing up. 50 Cent dropped, his album is an iconic year in hip hop. A lot of things
Hmm.
going on. I set some really clear goals and intentions for that summer, and I knew I was moving to New York to go to to go to college there and move to Queens. And I can look back on those notes and I just aggressively went after everything I wanted because I felt
Mm.
like the world owed me, and I knew that there was none could stop me. And I just shattered all my goals. I got the car that I wanted. I moved to New York, and then being so far out of my comfort zone because I didn't know anybody in New York.
Okay.
That was a defining moment for me. My first semester at a big university, not knowing anybody, and just doing what I typically do. I'm gonna be in my shell, but I'm gonna learn the whole lay of the land. I'm gonna learn all the resources. I'm gonna find my little niches. And that year was iconic for me. And then later on that year is when Jay-Z dropped the Black album.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that was very impactful for me. And there's so many lines that resonated with where I was mentally at that time. So it's easy for me to be like, yo, 2003. And then coincidentally, one of the worst years was 2013, where I had some really dark times and in some positions that there was no way I could have imagined myself being in these just different situations as a man, and just different things that I was questioning with career, purpose, being away from my mom for a little bit, and I was taking care of her, and there was a lot of situations kind of circulating. And then I even look back on those pages and I'm like, man, like your whole world was shaken up. But even with the good of 2003 and the bad of 2013, it allowed me to redefine me, which I've been on
Mm-hmm.
this rediscovery phase. So it's very fitting that I was looking at 2023 as a combination of the two. So it's for me to
Mm.
be the best me. So I've been calling it my GOAT year ever since. And I made these discoveries a year ago. So I knew what was coming. And I've been saying death to comfort zones because ain't nothing happening in no comfort zone,
That's
just
right.
complacency.
That's right. You got to bust out your comfort zone. And in 2003 and 2013, what year do you feel as you grew the most?
2003 still, just
Mm-hmm.
because of, knowing how introverted I've always been.
Right, right, right.
And for me I moved to New York from
Yeah,
Pennsylvania, and
yeah,
and that was the goal out of high school. I was accepted to that school out of high school, but I
right,
also understood finances at a very early age too. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to work out. Let's go to the community college, and then I'll make moves. And then it
right,
was like I had to do all the things that from 01 to 03 that allowed me to build up the energy to actually be able to take that leap. And as
right,
badly as my mom didn't want me to go, family, friends, or different people were like, "Nah, you shouldn't go," or whatever the case may be. I knew what I needed, and I'm not
right,
afraid to go get it. So that's what I did. So that's why I felt like that reshaped my whole perspective in life moving forward. And I
right,
built a lot of amazing relationships from that. Like my college roommate, we're closer now than we were when we lived together, but we literally talk every day still.
wow. Yeah,
And I graduated in 2006, so
yeah. That those lifelong relationships are built there. Well, I think that is that's stunning, and I wish you all everything for this 2023, this GOAT year, right? I believe that for you. And I just want to say, how can our listener, I know you did drop some of the gems about how people can keep up with you, but how does our listener support your work, follow you, stay connected with all the gems you have going on now and for what you have coming up? And how does someone always stay connected with you, to remain on this journey with you, to follow you into the storytelling realm and on your next levels?
yeah, I say support me honestly. And it's weird when I launched my magazine, I didn't. There was a lot of things I didn't anticipate. But I always look back and very hyper appreciative of it. But with every event, there'd be people that didn't live anywhere near here that would message me or post on my wall on Facebook and wish me luck.
Mm,
And I thought that was just amazing that I always try to be a very pure intention spirit, pure intention person. And so I think back on like receiving that where or I have people randomly check on me or wish me well. And I love that. So, I think just people connecting with me on social media or going to my website, www.nycevisions.com, and even like, buying pictures or art. I love when people comment on my photography. And I know part of me is posting that type of stuff a lot more, which I don't. And that's part of me continuing to come out of my shell and embracing the visually creative side versus, creating things for other people. But I think just going there, buying, supporting, commenting, giving me positive feedback. I even love probably the negative feedback and constructive criticism even more as a marketer. I love when people say, "Oh, this was cool. However," I love
Right.
that. That's where the gold is at, because I don't like people just telling me how great things are, because I know there's always a way to improve.
Right.
And so I even love that type of stuff too. And even people I've dealt with that didn't like me at all. I love that stuff, because you're thinking, you're talking, and you're giving out free public relations, and I'm here for all of it.
Right. Right. Well, I can't think of a reason why somebody wouldn't like to engage with you. I mean, it certainly has been good for me. So I hope that you are inspired by the man of the hour, Nyce, because I certainly am. I want to thank you for your time today. I'm very grateful. I know you're a busy guy, and I pray that you are also encouraged, that you would take some time out to celebrate yourself, your accomplishments, your faith over fear. It's onward, upward from here, Nyce. And I know you will continue to make your impact on others. Keep growing, because something tells me that we haven't seen your best days yet. There's more to come for you, Mr. Nyce Jones, and I'm excited for you. Is there anything else that we haven't covered, or anything that you would like to say in this conversation?
um, Not really. Just I express gratitude first and foremost to you for giving me this opportunity to, just even engage and have dialogue. I value that so much. I think sometimes I'm so caught up in doing. I don't think that. I always surprise and be like, oh, I want to talk to you over this platform. So I'm always used to doing that with other people. I'm not used to like people, oh, you want to talk to me? That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I embrace it. And then even the part you just said of um remembering to pray for myself, that hits, because I think sometimes I'm somebody that I'm always willing to give people time, space, and energy. I often will say to, friends that work in similar spaces that, sometimes some of us pour out so much into other people, we forget about ourselves. And so I've been trying to be more mindful of that. And that was another reminder of me to be mindful of that. So, I appreciate you. And then I appreciate anyone who, hears this and feels inspired, even if it's just one person. I think every day is more or less, even with education, like if I just impact one person, like I'm cool with it. I'm not into numbers. It's more or less like, impacting someone other than myself and myself at the same time.
I guess that goes back to fulfilled journey along the way.
That's
So
facts. I
again,
do gotta give a. I do gotta, because I can't leave here without this. But I do gotta give a shout out to my girl Bright, my lady
yeah,
in my life. Because that's the one who connected us as well. But
yes.
she's amazing. So I cannot leave out without giving my girl a shout out. What's up, girl?
This is the sweetest thing. It's the sweetest thing.
I know, and
So
she's gonna laugh and cringe when she see it, but I always gotta make it awkward, because it just can't be like too straightforward. You always gotta be a little awkward with me, 'cause that's me.
when I allow you to reintroduce yourself, you are family, and I feel that. But um,
I
but
appreciate
it's
that.
been a joy. It's been really a joy, and I just want to say that you're welcome. Peace, blessings, love, and light, and more life.
I hear that.
Again, onward, upward, be easy. This has been another Faith Over Fear for the books, another conversation with Shay. To God I give glory. Love your life, Nyce, and keep
Definitely.
living.
Life is nice when life is bright.
I like that. I like that. Life is nice. Well, it's been a pleasure.